The first Avenger always keeps his trusty shield nearby, and now you can too. Hey Marvelites, welcome to Marvel's Avengers Mech Strike, Mech Mine Marvel, where I am going to show you how to use art supplies and basic household items to assemble some awesome Avengers Mech Strike gear of your own. My name's Ryan, and I love Captain America, so today I'm going to show you how to make your very own Captain America mech shield. Before we start, here are a few tools and materials you'll need to have on hand. First, you'll need 3 pieces of foam core around 20 inches tall by 20 inches wide. How about some glue, some Velcro strips, and silver, red, and blue paint. And for tools, you'll need a ruler, pencil, scissors, paintbrushes, string, and hot glue. Alright, now let's get started. Step 1, we'll start by drawing guidelines onto each piece of foam core. Alright, so start with the first one. I'm going to use a ruler to divide it in half both ways. And these lines are super helpful to have as a guide moving forward. And in the next step, we're going to be drawing circles on this foam core that will eventually become the stripes on Captain America's shield. I know Cap here will be able to keep up with me, but if I'm going too fast at any point, just feel free to pause the video whenever you need to. Step 2, use the guidelines to draw 4 circles onto the foam core. To help you draw nice clean circles, we're going to grab your string and tie it to the tip of your pencil. Then hold the string at the center of the foam core and pull it out to where your pencil meets the edges of that foam core. And if you're holding the string tight enough, it should be helping you draw a nearly perfect circle. Just make sure the string doesn't wrap around the pencil as you're drawing, because then it will get shorter and it's just going to throw off your entire circle. So I'm doing this again for the next circle. Just pulling the string about 2 inches shorter, then drawing the next circle. I'll do the same thing 2 more times for the next 2 circles, so that's 4 circles total. As you'll see, I'm drawing over these lines a few times to make sure I can see these circles, and if 1 or 2 are messy, it really doesn't matter. I'm darkening in the line where the circle needs to be, and later on, we're just going to be painting over this, so don't worry about being too messy. Okay, I just showed you how to do one of these pieces of foam core. Now might be a good time to pause this video and do the exact same thing for the other 2 pieces. Ready to move on? Great. Before the next step, let's take each of these pieces of foam core and label them A, B, and C. Alright, step 3. Draw lines on circle A as a guide for where to cut it. Alright, so take a look here. This is the shape that I'll be outlining. Feel free to pause the video or take a screen grab to help guide you for this part. This will be the front part of the shield eventually, as you can see here. First, I'll draw these 2 lines at the top of the circle down to the edge of the smallest ring here. Now, these are about 3 inches from the center line if you want to measure. I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom here. Okay. Now, I'm only marking this up to the smallest ring here because I'm going to use the outer curve of that ring as the edge for this piece. Okay, let me just darken around the edges so you can see more clearly where we'll be cutting eventually. Okay. And then I'll do this bottom edge and up here. Whoops, not there. Up at the top here. Let me just erase that. All right. Okay. Okay, so this is where we'll cut circle A. Now, step 4. Draw lines on circle B as a guide for where to cut it. Again, check out the screen here to see the shapes that we're going to be cutting out eventually, and feel free to pause the video if you need to. So first I'm going to draw the same 4 lines I did on circle A. Okay. Then I'm going to mark these 4 corners of the center circle. After that, draw lines from these bottom 2 marks to meet at the center line just below the inner circle here. Okay, and I'll do the same thing with these top 2 marks. Okay, then from those same points on this inner circle, I'll draw a straight line out to the next ring, just like this. Okay, cool. All right, then I'll darken these lines to show you how these shapes we'll be cutting out will be coming together. Awesome. All right, next on the same circle B, step 5. Use your pencil to outline 4 bumpers that we'll use to keep the shield together when we assemble circles A, B, and C in just a little bit. I'm going into these 4 corners and drawing an inch, maybe an 1.5 inch little boxes over here. Okay, now that we have everything traced out, it's time for step 6. Cut along the lines you just drew with your scissors, starting with circle A. I'm just going to cut along these lines highlighted here to get the center shape cut out. To use the scissors along this curve, it really helps to get rid of some of the extra foam core on this side here first. It just makes it a little easier to get the scissors cutting from the right angle here. But try to keep one of these extra pieces larger because we'll need it later on. Okay, and you also want to cut off this thin layer along the top and bottom. Now on to circle B, and this is going to be a tough one. We're going to cut along the highlighted lines here, and remember, this is the circle we'll be cutting our bumpers from as well. You know, actually, let me cut down the center first to make it a little bit easier. So cut it all the way in half here along this line. Great. Then I'll cut around the edges. Look, the edge may look a little bit messy here, but don't worry. Even our friend Captain America makes a mess sometimes. Once you get the big shapes cut out, you can go back and clean up all those edges. All right, now I'm gonna cut along these lines to get the bumpers out. This is a little tough, so take your time here. Okay, cool. Feel free to pause this video at any point to keep up with me. Then on circle C, this will be the base layer of the shield. So all I really need to do is cut around the outer circle. Okay, once you cut all of these shapes out and cleaned up the edges, lay out all the pieces here to make sure you have everything. You got the 2 halves of B, 4 bumpers, the center section of A, and the full circle for C. Pretty much everything else you could throw away, but you will need a larger piece of leftover foam core in a little bit. Step 7. Glue the bumpers onto circle C. First, lay circle C on the table and place the 2 halves of circle B right on top. Then place the 4 bumpers into the corners that you cut them out from. This is where you're going to glue them down. Then in the next step, we'll be gluing section A on top of the bumpers like this, but don't worry, we'll get there. Okay, hot glue each of these bumpers in place like so. Okay, I'm going to glue here, and this one. Then, step 8, glue section A onto the top of the bumpers. Now, remember, it's just the bumpers you want to be gluing this down to. First, add glue to the top of each bumper, and then place section A on the top and press down firmly. Allow a minute for the glue to dry, then voila! The bumpers now connect sections A to circle C, leaving enough room for the halves of circle B to expand and contract, while keeping them firmly in place. Wow, this is awesome! I bet Cap would really love the shield, especially the Mech expansion we did right here. Step 9. Draw a star on the center of section A. After all, it's not really Cap's shield without the stars and stripes on it. So we're just going to draw a regular 5-pointed star on here. To make it nice and clean, I'm going to mark the 5 points of the star first. Okay, then use your ruler to connect the top points to the bottom right. Great. Move on over and do the same thing to the left. And again on the other side. And last, connect these top 2. There it is! Don't worry if these pencil lines are messy at all, because the next step is step 10, paint. Okay, I'm going to start by painting this outer stripe red. Just follow it all the way around the edge and do the same on the next circle in. Then I'm going to add some blue around the edges of the star. This red and blue design is so iconic to Captain America, and I love it, but you're making your shield, so you can design it however you want with whatever paint you have. Okay, now remember, this is a Mech shield, so instead of making this stripe white, I'm using silver paint for this and any other details to really give this shield that Mech armor shine. Place this aside for the paint to dry, and then move on to step 11. Add holding straps to the back of the shield. So first, take that extra piece of foam core we saved from earlier and make 4 marks in each corner of the sheet. Now carefully use your scissors to poke holes through these marks. Okay, then pull these Velcro straps through the top hole, down through the one beneath it, and then connect those 2 ends. And do that again on the other side. Trim down the length of the Velcro so it's not sticking out, but first make sure there's enough room for your arm to fit through here. Step 12. Glue these straps onto the back of the shield. First, make sure the paint on the shield is dry, then place the shield face down. Next, use the hot glue to attach the arm straps to the back. Add the glue to these 4 corners, then press it down onto the back of the shield. Okay, flip the shield back over, and wow, this is looking awesome! One last step before we're done, okay? Step 13. Take your regular white glue and brush it over the top of the shield. This step is super important because it'll add a nice shiny layer to the top of the shield and really make it look finished. It will also help protect the paint from chipping or rubbing off. All right, I'm just gonna make sure this whole thing is covered in glue. Let that glue dry, and we are done. You guys, this is the coolest. I really hope you had fun following along because I had a ton of fun making it. Said it before, I'll say it again. I really don't think Tony Stark could have done any better himself. Thanks for watching Marvel's Avengers Mech Strike, Mech, Mine, Marvel. And just remember, you don't need the lab at Stark Industries to make some epically fun mech gear.